Hello, welcome to the video series for the subject, Fundamentals of Economics, EEC-11. This video focuses on the second chapter of the subject. In this video we are going to take a look at the demand function for a good. If you have any questions regarding the topic, feel free to ask your questions in the comments sections below. Now let's dive into the contents.
In the above section we have considered various influences on the demand for a good. Here, it must be pointed out that there could be many other influences working on the demand for a good, which we have not considered. However, the above four factors are the major influences on the demand. In any particular situation, if we keep factors other than own price as constant, we can derive a demand schedule, a demand function, and a demand curve. A demand schedule lists the various quantities of a good, which a potential consumer buys from the market at different prices, observed at a given moment of time. Its tabular representation would be as follows. A demand function for a good expresses a causal relationship between quantity demanded of the good and its own price. In other words, it is a functional relationship between demand and price. If the good is X, and Q is quantity demand, and P is the own price of good X, then the general form of the demand function will be Q equals F of P.
What it says is that quantity demanded depends on price. Price is the cause, and quantity demanded is the effect.
Stated alternatively, price is the independent variable, while quantity demanded is the dependent variable. In technical terms, independent variables are also called exogenous variables, while dependent variables are called endogenous variables.
The demand function, which expresses the functional relationship between the quantity demanded of a good and its own price, is based on ceteris paribus assumptions. That is, we only allow the own price of commodity to vary with demand, with everything else held constant at their pre-assigned values. In other words, when we try to capture the relationship between quantity demanded of a good and its own price, we ignore all other influences on the demand for that good, like prices of substitute goods, complementary goods, the household's income level, tastes, and so on. The graph of the demand function on a two-dimensional Euclidean space, with horizontal axis measuring the quantity demanded, and vertical axis measuring the price, we get the demand curve for the goods.
Since the normal behavior is one of an inverse relationship between quantity demanded of a good and its own price, the demand curve for a good will be downward sloping. For convenience, we can assume the demand curve to be a downward sloping straight line. A downward sloping demand curve reflects the law of demand. This law says that, other things remaining the same, a consumer, or, in general consumers, would tend to buy more when price falls and buy less when price rises. Here, it can be pointed out that when the demand curve for a good is a straight line, the corresponding demand function will have a linear equation of the type Q is equal to A minus BP, where A is the quantity intercept, and B is the slope. The slope, B, expresses the rate at which quantity demanded changes when price changes. That is, B is equal to D by dP of Q. When we plot the demand curve, we actually plot the inverse demand curve. That is, P is equal to alpha minus beta Q. For each given quantity demanded, the maximum price a consumer, or consumers, would be willing to pay, rather than doing without that quantity. Also, since price paid by buyers reflects the average revenue earned by sellers, the inverse demand curve is also known by the name AR curve. Note that the demand curve touches the price axis. It gives us the price at which quantity demanded falls to zero. Such a price is called the prohibitive price.
With all that said, we are going to wind up this tutorial for now. This was a brief lecture based on the demand function for a good. We will continue this tutorial over next lecture with more additional topics. Check out the link below for the next tutorial video. If you want a video tutorial about a specific topic, you can request below in comments. If you have any questions regarding the topic, feel free to ask your questions in the comments sections below. Click subscribe button to follow this course and to get notified when the next lecture video gets out.